Hello, friends, and a warm welcome to you. Today, I have the privilege yet again to be in the company of Reshma Miraj, who is a lecturer in graphic design, and we do go way back. And today, the thought of interest is to share something about life as we know it now, the so-called new normal. Resh, do you have something you would like to ask during these challenging times?
Yeah, so as an intuitive coach, what guides or what techniques can you actually uh, put out there or give to people like me and many others who who need to navigate themselves through the day of living out this new normal and becoming grounded and believing in themselves and not becoming mentally and even physically exhausted through the process, but uh, drawing the energy from within. How do you go about doing this?
Thank you, Reshma. I think it's such a pivotal question during these challenging times, and I can only share with you from experience and from the journey that I've taken, because experience is the best teacher in life. And the first thing I myself have been doing is to self reflect. And so, to really dedicate time, and especially in the morning, as soon as you wake up, because your intellect is fresh to absorb new ideas, to actually stop, observe, and then steer what's happening in your inner world. That is your first line of moving forward. In that, when I'm holding thoughts of yesterday, thoughts of worry, fear, insecurity, which is the wave for a while now, I can then ask myself, where are those thoughts coming from? And it's those challenging experiences, but when I choose to step within, I will actually tap into a very powerful force within that will give me the strength and ammunition, I would say, to propel through those challenging moments.
Okay, so that also comes from the stillness within. How do you start recognizing that power within and that stillness within? Because it's from being still that we actually get that direction or find that navigational tool like we've
Yes,
been
yes.
speaking about. um, how do we then instill or starting to instill that stillness so that we become more attuned and more aware and more accountable to the everydayness?
Thank you for that. So, it would be the first step would be asking yourself, do I want to make a change in my life? I think that's very pivotal because lots of people just go in and out in this daily rut, not realizing that the choices lie within me. So the first step would be to ask myself, do I want a change in my life? And immediately your psyche shifts into a new dimension of thinking. And then it's physically creating space for silence, and then going within, because there's a reserve of pristine silence within oneself. And when you quiet, you hear your inner world, you hear the thoughts that race through the mind.
Yeah, and I think there's mountains of information and there's out there about how to meditate and so forth, and so many people out there giving their ideas and their
Sure.
versions on how to meditate, how to become still, how to instill that um, quietness. But it's also about a connection.
Absolutely. That's the thing. When we choose to start living life differently, do you know, energy works amazing in that automatically things start to flow. It's just taking that first step of I want to be quiet, and then nature takes its course. And it's interesting, once you choose that process or that lifestyle, should I say, you'll find your whole perception, firstly, of yourself changes, and then you start to look at other people in a new light.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because once you start seeing yourself differently, because I think many of us are too difficult on ourselves. We want to be our perfect selves. but being our perfect self means so many different things. I mean, when you're in the corporate world, becoming, getting to that tier, becoming that, being control and all of that. And then there's the home environment where you want to make sure that you're the parent and you keep that balance, but you don't want that off balance, and then when then it comes to your personal self where you are that little being in all those in those pods, but
Absolutely.
uh, but how do you then uh, you know encapsulate this
Mm.
in a stillness, in a quietness, in a strength? How do you develop it? How
Sure.
do you move on from it? How do you envelop it? And how do you draw on it?
Okay.
Um, because we all know that we want to be perfect at
Mm-hmm.
some point, and yes, we are very difficult on ourselves and we criticize ourselves and all of that. But how do we then detach from that
Mm.
overcriticalness and
Sure.
because once we stop judging ourselves, like we spoke previously about, I think, I don't know why I went back to that, um, but once we stop that, then we accept who we are.
Absolutely, and I think you touched on an amazing aspect of human behavior, and that is we judge and criticize ourselves so much, because we want that perfection, and hence we become hard on ourselves, and then we become hard on others because we want them to live the way I live, you know. So the benefits of becoming quiet is multifaceted because that first initial experience is where you feel calm, you start to feel healthy, you will become less frustrated, less angry, and that will spill into family because we all are in a family unit, right? But you set the pace for what's happening on the outside. And it is that inward outward journey. And it's interesting to see that whatever's happening in my world, whatever's happening in my life, is actually a reflection of what's happening inside.
Mm.
And saying that it's not now to judge again and criticize and analyze, it's to become, I like this word, it's to become gentle on the self. I mean, do we do that?
So it's also about becoming mindful of your thoughts.